but headlining night one of this first ever TC Summerfest, The Killers. And it's kind of making me a little bit tingly to know that I am about to have a conversation with the lead singer of The Killers, the main brain behind what happens in the Killers universe. Brandon Flowers joins us now on Cities 97.1. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're busy right now, right? I mean, like, I know that you're not on like a heavy duty tour and you've got a bunch of festival dates to do throughout the course of the summer, a lot of them heading into Europe. But you recently appeared at Glastonbury and nobody knew you were going to be there. What was Glastonbury like?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I mean, it was a long way to go for one song. It was probably the furthest I've ever gone for one song for sure. But it was such an honor to be asked to do Tiny Dancer with Elton. I had a little bit of trepidation when he first asked me. I was a little nervous because it's a tough song to sing. You know, the falsetto and the chorus is not something you typically want to do in front of 100,000 people. And as soon as I hesitated, he said, "You want to do Crocodile Rock?" Would you rather do Crocodile Rock? And so it just shows what a sense of humor he has, and he's a great friend of ours, and such an honor to be able to honor him.
So I've never heard anything but other than his graciousness and his kindness and his talent about Elton. How did you ever first meet Elton John? I mean, like, how did you get the invite to go play at Glastonbury with Elton John?
He did that Vegas residency, and so we would be home from tour, and he would invite us around and play us new stuff, and we'd play him new stuff, and we'd go see him play at Caesar's Palace, and we sort of became friends. And he was cooped up in his hotel room all the time, and was, I think, chomping at the bit just to have people around, and he's just been really, really gracious to us.
Brandon Flowers of The Killers is my guest right now. And Brandon, you are a Vegas native. I think for most of us who only go to Vegas as sort of Sin City or Playland, right? I mean, like, most of us don't realize there's a thriving community outside of it. What was it like growing up in Las Vegas?
Yeah, it is. For us, we didn't realize it was strange until we left. And people started asking us about it. But I see now, it is it's a very unique town, and it takes a certain type of person to love it, I think. And so our family members are those people, and they find each other, and there's a little bit of Wild West out there still that exists out in the desert. And then there's this postmodern situation where we will tear things down and build new, bigger and better things, and so there are people clinging to the horses and the cowboys, and then there are people pressing forward, and it's kind of a wild place. But for us, it's outside of the strip. It really can be a very normal feeling place in the suburbs, I think.
I'm going to assume you said relatively normal place, because there's nothing normal about Las Vegas. All right, let's be very clear.
We have slot machines in our 7-Elevens.
Really?
Yeah, and in our laundromats.
Yeah.
In our grocery stores, and there may be more advertisements for strip clubs and call girls in other places.
Well, Peppermint Rhino and Feather Boas. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of suburban Las Vegas. So you are going to be in town this coming weekend, and it's part of a big summer tour you're going to be doing. So everyone knows by now, because we've been talking about it and handing out tickets left and right, to TC Summerfest that's happening at the Target Field at downtown Minneapolis this coming weekend. You're going to be headlining night one along with your band, The Killers. But now, just announced yesterday, you're also performing the night before at perhaps our most legendary venue in Twin Cities history, and that would be First Avenue. Have you been inside First Avenue before?
Yeah. It's kind of like a sacred ground, and it's really cool to be getting back on that stage again. But yeah, we've been a couple times.
Okay, well, then that's great. But I mean, like, you're used to doing festivals where you're in front of anywhere between 20 and 500,000 people. Inside First Avenue, there are these confines, right? And it's sort of a confined space. And to me, there's a certain critical mass that gets reached where it's this biofeedback loop, right, between what you're doing on stage and what the audience is feeling. And so, if you only have 1,500 people in there, which is still a ton of people, but it's a different animal than playing to a giant outdoor crowd. What do you prefer? I mean, you're a recording artist. You are a lifelong performing artist. Where do you find the most electricity? Where do you find the thing that recharges you the most during the course of a performance?
Man, we've had great experiences in front of large crowds and small crowds, but there is something special and it's a little bit of a homecoming feeling and reminding us of when we started, when we play in these smaller rooms. And there is an energy. It's very apparent right away, what the relationship is going to be and what your job is going to be that night. If you're going to need to win them over, it's kind of like a baptism by fire kind of a thing. And I love that. I kind of thrive off of that. And we try to look for the similarities, the stage and the musicians and the songs, but we really do love playing in those tight rooms.
Well, and I've probably been in that room 800 times, maybe 1,000 times. I've lived here my whole life, and I've gone to a ton of shows there. And so I'm excited for you because the people who are going to be in there are going to be thronging. They're going to lose their minds. But there's also got to be something kind of amazing about having 80,000 people sing your lyrics back at your face when you're up on stage in front of a huge crowd. Yeah,
the community that's involved when it's that many people, and it should be something to be celebrated, when we're all agreeing on something. Mm-hmm. And that's just, especially in the way the world is today, where it's so polarized. It is amazing to be a part of something where that's that communal and that large and that positive.
You bring up a very interesting point right there about how polarized we are and how sort of agitated everyone is and how free they feel to vent their spleen, right? Like there didn't used to be that way. You are a band that brings people together, and I'm not asking you to philosophize. I'm not asking you to fix the world's problems, although if you could, that would be fantastic. I'm just wondering, is part of the Killers' philosophy to mitigate that, to bring people together, to try to find some sort of commonality?
I think so. I think as we've grown in the early, incarnation of the band, it was just about being, excited about being in a room together and playing music. And as it's grown over the years, we've seen the power and the responsibility that kind of lies with what we do. And it's beautiful. Music has done so much for us, and it's nice to be able to repay the favor and go out there.
Well, you're going to be performing this weekend, night one, headliners, the Killers. Brandon Flowers talking to us right now at Target Field, downtown Minneapolis, for the first ever TC Summerfest. It's going to be a huge night, and then you get a little time off. But then in August and September, you get busy. You head to Europe for a couple of some of the biggest festivals there. We talked about how you were already at Glastonbury. You're going to Pukkelpop. You're going to Zurich. You're going to the Reading Festival. It's going to be huge. Without disparaging either community, what is the biggest difference for you when you perform in America at a festival or when you perform in Europe at a festival?
Oh, I think culturally it's a little bit, it's a little bit more ingrained in them over there, the idea of festivals. I think that we've, obviously we had Woodstock and things like that, right, going back 50 years, but it is an assumed part of, of your adolescence there or your early adult life that you're going to be, experiencing these festivals. And so it's a little bit more ingrained in them. I feel like the celebration of it all. But we're coming around in America. We're coming around.
All right. Well, coming around. Yeah. No, you've done okay. Things seem like they're going pretty well so far. You're going to Kentucky, New Jersey. I noticed a couple nights in Reno, back-to-back nights. Having been to Reno, given how expensive Las Vegas has gotten, I'm kind of a Reno preferentialist. Like it's cheaper to stay there and cheaper to gamble there. But now you're
Reno is beautiful too. Sorry, Reno is beautiful.
Oh, agreed, man. So again, I don't judge, man. Like if I roll up in a place, I'm like, I can afford to sleep here, I can afford to eat here, I can afford to gamble here. I'm cool with Reno, man. Reno's 100%, and that's going back to the 80s. But now I do notice on September 22nd, Las Vegas, Nevada, for the Life is Beautiful Festival. Obviously, a zillion bands performing live, and it's going to be a huge deal. But for you, hometown gig, I've known Minnesota musicians who have become internationally exceptional and famous, but coming home is always weird for them, or at least a little nerve-wracking. What's it like for you when you come home? You're back in Las Vegas, Nevada. What's it like when you do that gig in Las Vegas?
There's kind of nothing like it, because we're very much ambassadors for Las Vegas, and our fans that may be from all around the world have sort of attached themselves to that part of our band as well. So they'll be traveling in from all over and going to and experiencing things in the town that we've maybe have sung about, or places that they know that we frequent and things like that. And so it becomes more than just a regular gig for sure. And it's we're always looking forward to playing Vegas.
And when I talk about that biofeedback loop, I'm sure the sort of fanaticism and the sort of frothy nature of people who are like, oh my God, our band is back, and you're on tour and you've already been to Europe, and now you're back in America, and now you're back in your hometown. I wish you the very best, Brandon, and you have been fantastic to talk to. I hope you enjoy your time in Europe. Can't wait to see you this coming weekend at Target Field. And I wish you and your band the very best, Brandon. This has been a good conversation. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Brian.